Hello, hello. Hello and welcome, friends, to another live stream here with me, Ethan. We are going to continue to be working on building Recast, which is a file conversion software as a service. Users can upload their files and we will convert the files for them. A bunch of these exist. It's kind of like an evergreen problem. Building it as a software as a service is excellent because people don't always have access to all the tools they might have on a native computer. And so this way they can just kind of upload whatever they need to do and convert it. And the goal, the overarching goal, is going to be to allow a user to convert any file, anything, to anything else. And so we're going to continue to expand our graph of converters to allow them to be able to convert everything. And the goal is to build this into a business and sell it instead of simply just like a little pet project that we might be doing on the side. And to do that, we're going to need, a product that works. And then we're going to have to really take it a step further and build like the business around it. And that's going to involve, content, SEO, marketing, all that jazz. Because we're selling it, this is not totally open source, but if you want to take a look at any of the code while I'm coding, that's totally fine. And then also, of course, if you have specific things you want me to like talk more about, I'll be happy to make videos about that sort of thing. So last Tuesday, we basically worked on the user experience side of it. Before that, we kind of built the rough idea of how to do these conversions in the back end. And the entire project is built on next.js using Tailwind and kind of a smattering of UI libraries at the moment on the front end. Haven't really settled on anything I'm super, super happy about. And so we're really just kind of ironing through the user experience. And for people who have been following along, Vue 3@G, there's gotta be a better way to say that, right? Vuebat, maybe? Welcome. Zohaib, welcome. For people who've been following along, you might be like, wow, you're spending quite a bit of time kind of playing around with the user experience. But I think that's going to be really important here because people are going to show up, right? A huge part of this entire project is going to be working on the SEO side of it, right? Get people to search, like, how do I convert X to Y and have them land on your page. And then they're going to have like one chance, right, to do this conversion. And you need to nail that experience and really make sure they know exactly what they need to do, what the next step is, and so they can follow through and get, the file converted that they want to get converted. So definitely have been spending quite a bit of time playing with that sort of user experience, trying to get it just right. And the penultimate test here is going to be to give it to my lovely mother at one point, who constantly needs to convert images because her iPhone takes them in the iPhone format and then she gets them on her Mac and she doesn't know what to do. And I walk her through that every time, but I'm gonna at one point give her, the converter as a website and be like, hey, do this and it will convert your images. And I just want to see her walk through that experience, right? And make sure that if it can work for her, then it should be good to go. We're not there yet. So we're going to spend more time today kind of working on it. All of our tools are at our disposal. We're happy to use any sort of AI tooling, all that as we kind of run through and build this product out. So that's where we currently are. What I want to show you is we're going to jump into code here. I'm going to show you kind of where we currently are just to center my mind. In some of my other projects, I've only been coding on stream. But for this project, I've actually been coding off stream as well to really try and round out what this looks like. And so jump in here. I still think I could be even bigger. Look, I'm huge. Let's get me centered. Perfect-ish. So here's Google, and we're going to do localhost. So this is where I've gotten to on kind of my off-stream coding here. And I'm actually very happy with sort of like the top part of this website. And now we're really working on like the whole conversion thing. So what I've built is, besides just like the nice header, got our logo up here, right? And the ultimate, like this is the call to action. What I want users to do is like select this to convert a file, right? So that's what the driving action is going to be. And then we just have some bunch of filler text all over the place. But I've been focusing on this, and I'm focusing on like the mobile view. Again, trying to just nail this sort of like homepage experience. And I had a lot of fun building out what I thought was a really kind of cool experience, where behind the homepage is a generative sort of visualization where these little orbs actually kind of move around very, very slowly and totally randomly across the screen. So if you refresh the page, they slowly fade in and then they just kind of start moving. So if you land on the page, and the text also very subtly kind of shifts color. Color scheme right now is this sort of like emerald to teal, green to sky blue. I think that's the right place to be, like calming, soothing. Don't worry, we've got this. The logo being red is probably something that'll change in the future. That's just a temporary placeholder. And this allows, someone who's like first landing and reading to kind of like, oh, like there's stuff going on in the background, which I think is really, really powerful. And then of course I've been spending quite a bit of time on like the mobile view, which I think is also important. So we're going to have just a general like large menu that's going to pop up and give any details. We don't have other pages yet, so it's just kind of a placeholder. And the same thing happens on mobile where, it fades in these sort of generative color blobs, for lack of a better word to call them, that will move slowly around the screen and kind of give this like really subtle, but I think really, really nice touch for, hey, we've thought about polish, we've thought about the user experience, we tried to make this, nice and powerful. And then, of course, you just have placeholder text, which will eventually be like sections convincing people that we're not just going to steal their data, which is not the goal. So with that being said, what we're really kind of in the middle of, let me jump in 150. What we're kind of in the middle of here is I've been hacking away. What's that? An artifact? Maybe it's just a blue blob. Of the file conversion experience, right? So you select a file, and you can select one file, but you could also select perhaps multiple files. And as I've been doing this more and more, having multiple files I think is going to just be a very, very common use case. And so my API was kind of built around converting one file because that was simple. It's like, okay, just convert a file. But really, people are going to want to show up and they're going to like, no, I have several files that I kind of want to convert. And interesting. Did I select focus on the, we'll have to change that. And so they select multiple files. So I think this is pretty good. We have a placeholder image here. We're going to want to basically have one of these for every file type. Right now it's just a PNG, but every single file type will have it. And because we're going to do every file type and we have a file extension, we're probably going to generate these on the fly, is my guess, which will be pretty fun. So we'll just have an SVG, and this I found on the internet, but I figured it was a pretty good representation of like, this is a nice file. And so we kind of have this like conversion area, which shows up once the user drags and drops or selects a file. And we have this to button, which is not very clear. So we're going to update that. And then we kind of have this convert action. And the convert action there's two trains of thought here, which we could go either way for. And I've been playing around with it. We also have like this really nice frosted glass effect, which I am very happy about. I guess I have focus on something, right? Yeah, there you go. So like, this must be, yeah, this must be the focus on the entire outline, right? There's a very subtle blue glow, which kind of really throws me off here. So here's our code. And if we go to our drop zone, we have this get root props, but I think we're going to add in class name outline none here to make sure we get rid of, yeah, that weird glow. We don't want that. The first tab should probably be the logo and then like a jump to content. All right, so that's perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start hacking away at this, where we're going to just continue to improve this experience. This conversion probably needs to be changed. This entire thing needs to be in a container. So I've been doing a bunch of work. So here's the page itself. Here's our homepage. And I finally got the homepage to look like this. If you were paying attention last week, this was a much messier, but we no longer, it's not a client component anymore. So we got rid of that, and we have our background, which fades in appropriately. The entire thing is a drop zone, so that's kind of at the highest level here. It's only on this page. You could put this drop zone in like the layout if you wanted every page to be it, but I think it's going to make sense that the page itself defines if it wants to be a drop zone or not. And then we have the header, we have the main element, and then we have our hero section, the manager, and about. And the manager is this new file manager that we've created. And I created a custom hook called use conversions and also use drop zone now. And this entire thing builds around my own custom context. So we have a file context, although arguably that should be called conversion context. So let's just change that. Conversion context. Let's just change it to conversion context. And a conversion context is the context here, the React context, that is going to hold all of the information about the current conversions that are happening. And so we store them in this state at the context level, and then we have some helper functions to remove or update conversions, and what happens when like we drop files, right? We just add it to the list of conversions. And then instead of using the drop zone at the drop zone level, I've actually pulled in the drop zone hook here, and we're using it within this hook, which allows us to pull out all the properties and pass them around everywhere. So there's a bunch of nice benefits to doing that. So basically this entire conversion context provider is the thing that now drives all of the logic in the entire application. And so this like sits at the lowest level. If you go and check out our providers, we have like the next UI provider, might get rid of that, and the conversion provider, right? And this is the thing that drives all of the logic. So in the spirit of pushing often, let's just chore refactor conversion provider name. I like to push often and keep our code tidy here as we're just doing small tweaks as we kind of get going. So on the page, we have this file manager, which is called manager, and it does a lot, which I think we're gonna have to break apart and do some refactoring for. We're using framer motion, so that's a motion div, which allows it to basically fade in from 0 and also kind of like translate up, so it like fades in, comes up, which is awesome. And then we have it select the files to convert and what's going on. So we have a conversion list item, which is each of the items that we're listing out and what should happen on like the removal or when you update, you know, I want to convert it to, that sort of thing. So that is what we have. This entire thing doesn't really care about what's happening inside it. So let's go back to our page, and we want this to be within a container. So animate presence, and then of course when we come in, yeah, let's just toss it here for now and see if it makes sense to move. So I've created a new container method which defines the container I want to see, as well as safe zones, because on iOS we're doing the full screen instead of not. Again, just small little things that make the experience much, much nicer. But now that it's here, everything should line up nicely. And our hero also, this entire section should be a container as well. I've been thinking about this. And so one of the things I'm gonna say, yeah, so that doesn't change anything here, but when we go and do a responsive view, it will kind of change where the boundaries are. So that's really nice. One of the things is, it's really tempting to put the container on like the main or the div that surrounds it, but then you can't have anything that goes edge to edge on the browser, and because everything's going to be contained in the middle container. So if you have any section down below that has like color, you know, which you want to go from this side all the way to this side, you can't do that within that container, right? So each section is basically going to be like, the section goes edge to edge, but then the content in the section should be within the container. So you need to like reuse it a couple times. So it's nice just to define what you want your container to be in one place, and then, you know, you can put things inside it. So we're starting to get there, at least on larger screens. We still need, let's see, this button I'm not happy with. It doesn't look like a button at all. So let's go to our file list item. Here we go. And this is, let's see, on larger screens. Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you very much. I appreciate those kind words. I definitely have some more content I want to get to. I just need to write the code and or make the videos for it. And I've been way too excited hacking on this. So that's where we stand. So this is a popover trigger. Down here we are actually using a button, which I think is nicer. And so we're gonna do this, and so we can do as child to pull this in, and then change this text to here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, wow. Well, that's close, but awful because it's huge. So this is in a grid, right? And so the grid defines this as 100, but the button is being defined as bigger. So I think the thing here is we're just going to do size and try to make it a small button. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, now besides the X, which needs to be kind of moved way over here, how are we doing here? So this is our line and convert to. So when you click this, we have this little popover we're doing. Will you show us how to do marketing? I will, Alex. Once we, so the hardest thing about marketing, right, is you need to have something to market. So this is the idea with an MVP always is like, get it to something good enough to start, right? And then you can start showing it to people and doing the marketing side of it. And marketing comes down to, I think, two things these days. One is content. Content marketing is just a huge part of what drives things forward today. And so what that generally means is like you as a person or business need to create articles or videos that are genuinely useful, and then post those and share those and like actually trying to help people. So a great thing about Recast here is we have built-in content marketing, in that like it's so when people come to Recast, right, they're like, how do I convert this to this? Like that's the problem they're on. So we can just write content about that. It's very helpful if you know exactly what problem you want your users to be solving. So I'm very happy with that side of it. So we'll have a blog which will post regular content, and we'll post that content and we'll find out places we can share it, right? And the goal is just to make useful content. That, of course, takes time. And because I'm not spending my full time building Recast, although I am spending a certain amount of time on it, we're going to also use some AI tools to help with that content generation. Because we, as a human, we want to like make sure the content is correct and accurate and everything, but a lot of the content is going to be like basic tutorial style content, right? Which is like, how can I install FFmpeg to convert an MP4 to a GIF file? Like, that is a great blog post, but ChatGPT knows how to write that really, really well, or whatever AI model you want to use. Like, it's not that hard to write that sort of style of blog posts. So we'll run through a lot of this content generation using a bunch of automated tools, and then post a lot of that and kind of share it that way. So that's one huge part of marketing, right? And then of course people can like link to those articles, and people will Google for them, and that'll show up in search results, and it will raise your domain authority and all this good stuff. So content is just a huge thing. And then, you know, posting that content to social networks and things like that. The other part of marketing, which I am not good at, as you can tell, I find myself to just kind of be authentically me. But the other part of marketing that I think we will want to do is the type of marketing that you will see on like YouTube shorts and TikTok videos and Hey Dad Bod and other forms of social media, which is not meant to be so much attention grab or like tutorial useful. It's meant to be just entertainment. And these sorts of things we were talking when we first started will be things like memes or funny videos or other sort of content that is just kind of like along the hilarity side of it, where people can be like, oh, like that's funny, that's hilarious, or like, oh my god, look what these people are doing, right? Like, oh, that's the stupidest thing in the world, why would you do this, right? Those sorts, you want to provoke an emotion with that side of the marketing. And so that'll be a lot of, I think, videos and things like memes and stuff like that, to be like, look at the ridiculous stuff you can do with our platform, you know, that you should never do, but you can do if you want to, and kind of figuring out what our target audience is there. So those are like the big two things for like marketing. And a lot of it's just like, you just got to put stuff out there, and you're going to make a bunch of duds, and you're going to, you know, do things that people don't find to be funny, and you're eventually going to find your groove. One of my favorite actors of all time is Ryan Reynolds. And I think like his dry humor on his commercials is just fantastic, right? Like, I will go and just like watch, like his videos because they're hilarious. So trying to like unpack what makes those things good and then put yourself out there is going to be a huge part of this. Speaking of marketing, got my first callback the other day. Good meeting, putting together a couple one-pagers for them now. Congratulations! That's fantastic. What sort of marketing are you doing, Dad Bod, to like get your business and your name out there? Like, how are you driving a couple people to your website? Are you just like sending out like messages and like finding people and doing sort of like the one-on-one sleuthing of who you think will be a good target? That's awesome. Congratulations. Like, those first few ones are just huge, right? So we have one too many columns here, and this button needs to go over there. That's currently where we're at for this little dialogue thing. So I think what we just want to do, this is on the big one, right? So we don't need this grid at all. Yeah, no problem, Alex. No problem at all. All right, so now this button, we just want it to be kind of actually, we probably want it to be like actually right aligned within it, right? So class, we'll just do justify end, right? To get it over there, we want it like as far, so like the picture is here on the far left, and then the X button is as far right as it can go, although maybe centered would be fine. It already has padding though, right? So we got to convert to, which also probably should be centered. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's see, we'll do right, and then justify center. Yeah, that didn't actually justify center. How dare you? Oh, did it just like not save? Oh, I just typed it wrong. Chat. There we go. Perfect. Few things. This came out from what you described, cold outreach to content creator I'm familiar with. Yeah, I mean, warm intros are the best, right? Being able to like work off of a relationship. And I think the first, I mean, this is always the case, although once for anyone starting a business, right? Until you have a sales process like nailed down, a lot of it is just going to be, hi, this is what I do in life. This is what my business does. This is what I am good at. How can I help, right? And if you genuinely can help them, you generally start a really good conversation from that. Jan, really appreciate your content. Helped a lot as a beginner. Doing a great job. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and skills with us. Thank you. That is so kind. I'm glad you are enjoying the content. I, in general, have quite a bit of fun building it and working on it. It's just, you know, making it enough of a habit, right? Where I'm constantly building it out. I find at this point, a lot of the stuff is like, okay, this is good, but I need to like write the code and do the tutorials and all this stuff. So I don't know, being a YouTuber is interesting. SendGrid plus ChatGPT to build specific single sends for individuals, lots of details about their content. I love that. I love using ChatGPT there to kind of like hyper focus what you want to, when you want it to be. Mostly me listening to stream, the page seems to be very important. Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. I think the best calls early on are you listening more than talking, right? For my startup years ago, my CEO, who's a fantastic person, love him to death, one of the things that he's really good at doing is talking. And he'll just like chat your ear off and stuff. But I learned over time, over and over again, that I think actually being able to just ask questions and listen is a much better thing to be able to do early on in the discussions. And then later, you can start really kind of explaining how you can help. But to start, just listen, ask questions, like really understand what their core pain is. And then, you know, most likely at that point, you can probably solve it. Like anyone here, right, as you grow as an engineer, anybody here will be able to listen to what people's problems are and then solve those problems. The engineering tends not to be the hardest part. It's everything else around it. All right. So recast, here we go. Convert any file to anything. And now we got our little files to convert section here. Still got like, we're definitely leading into this whole frosted glass aspect of what we're building, but I think it's kind of cool. We can remove things. This all works as you would imagine. Right now the content goes up and down, but I think that's going to be okay. And we'll just have like a nice spacing section below it. And I'm still really, we have like, there's a lot of white. So like this is all white on white, and the convert action converts in theory, right? But we need this also to be a form. I really like this. I think 53 kilobytes showing the size right below the file name is good. And you click convert to, like, okay, I want to convert this to, this is just an example, PNG, right? Oh, interesting. The hover really makes it, the hover overrides my, so if you, right now the current problem, one of the current problems is if you click convert, A, it's not going to convert, and B, it's, God, what a great button. It doesn't check that we have all of these filled out. And really, this is, at this point, a glorified form, and we kind of want to mark these as like required inputs. is really what it comes down to. Like we can do this all without that sort of stuff, but fundamentally, right, this is all just what we're doing. So here is downloads, my testing folder, Zod time. Oh, I'm not the biggest fan of Zod. Whoop. Whoop. What's going to happen is we're going to have specific pages for converters in the future. So it's going to be like JPEG to PNG. This is a pretty common thing. It's also common for SEO practices. And we'll also have like anything to PNG, right? And in those situations, what's going to happen is this convert to will be pre-filled. And so you won't need to select it. It's like, oh, you want to convert JPEGs to PNG. So like we know what this is, right? So, oh, PNG, great. But what we have here, yeah, I think we're going to want to refactor this and turn it into a giant form. And the convert button can, I mean, we could use, welcome to the channel. I didn't really need to get stream elements running. And the convert will be like the submit action, which makes the most sense, right? Vinny! Welcome to the channel. So the thing that is not quite accurate is we're not storing necessarily like the file information within the file input, I suppose. Right, we're just kind of, in our code, we're storing it in state. We're not storing it within the actual file component. Although I guess we probably could pretty easily, right? So what if in our manager, the entire thing, right, instead of having the form action here, we can just move the entire thing up to the highest level. So now the entire motion, everything here is a form, and we have a conversion list item within this form. Whoops, don't do that. And so now the form action, we can pull out here. So now we don't need this little cute form down here, which was just for testing. Dadbot, I have a very exciting marketing thing happening that I want to talk to you offline though. Oh, I would love to hear it. Sorry, I missed that message. Feel free to send me an email or any other way you want to get in touch with me. Or whatever makes the most sense. Happy to hear and see what you have going on. So now the entire thing is a form with this action, which means all these inputs in here in our conversion list item, we can use for inputs, which a lot of this doesn't need to be an input, but this popover entire thing could be an input. And so even though it's like a button, wondering if we can basically do something like this. And the default value is going to be the conversion.to, or nothing, because React's going to yell at us if it's undefined, right? And so that's the default value, and if it's nothing. And then we're going to say that this field is required, and then we're going to hide it. We'll see what that does here. So now we have a little hidden thing in our DOM, right in here, which is like, okay, this does have value PNG, but this does not. Okay, if I click it, it still happily submits. We don't want to disable the button or anything because then our user's like, well, what's going on? But maybe dadbot is 100% right. And we will want to use a validation library here to kind of validate what we have going on in state, right? Where for the form, oh, this is our dialog. For the form, right? What happens if we just like insert something here? Let's just see what we can do with native React stuff. So we're gonna add a little form. Actually, I'm not even gonna make it hidden. And we're gonna mark it as required, right? And so this thing is required. So if I go convert, it says please fill out this form. So that's perfect. So I wonder if the default value here, is this messing things up? So if we just do this, now it will be undefined, which is fine. Let's go ahead and add something here to convert. Click convert, it says please fill out this form. Yeah, so our dynamically inserted inputs are not doing what we want it to do. Vit's car, welcome, welcome. So we basically want to say like, oh, hey, like you need to make sure this input is here. Now, the other thing we can do is we can do, right, since we're building out a lot of this, we can do React hook form, which I've used quite a bit. And this is going to be client side, but I think that's all okay because of how dynamic this whole form is. It's going to be probably the preferred way. Let's see, they have schema validation. They're using yup or whatever, but it's not really schema validation so much, right? As just like you need to fill out this particular input. Make that a little bigger for people hanging out at home. Right, required or not, but the actual selection. So the thing is, like, we've basically till this point have been able to avoid making it like a strong form, but right, because React, we're using our drop zone. No, we don't want that. So and they basically just like put everything into one input. And we then kind of want to take our one input, right, and like explode it out into one row per file. To open the file picker. Oh, that's fine. And so we're kind of like, I guess, creating our form and then immediately messing with it. They have an example here of somewhere. Unless they got rid of it. Where's my array usage, right? No. Yeah. I guess we're just going to do something kind of like this, right? And so let's give this a go. There's not so much like validation we really need, right? As opposed to really just like building it out as a form and marking things as required or not. At least. They had an example for this. React hook form array. Maybe it's just the docs here. Right, and it's like we don't really need to like update the input, so to speak, with like all that, but we will want to be able to manage it, right, when they basically remove all of these things. And if we do it within the form, then perhaps that will be kind of what we want here. It's a lot of refactoring. So things like this is what we also need to take into account, where we're basically asking for, we want the conversion specified. But the browser, I don't think, no input here is going to make the most sense for a browser input. Let's go read up on Zod a little bit. Zod. Form integrations. A first-party Zod resolver for React hook form. What I want to know, I guess, is yeah, this is pretty straightforward. It's just define your schema, right? And then name 12 result error issues. Yeah, so we'll basically parse it and then look at the errors, and then for each one we can do like a little pop-up to be like, this needs to be picked. Probably doing something like maybe like a little tool tip. Oh, it's on hover. That's fine. We'll just probably use the radix one, right? To be like, hey, you need to select this. Or does it make sense for this to actually be an input that's more like an autocomplete input? What would that look like? I don't think so, because on mobile, right, when we get down to it, let's do like 150. Right, so here we are in mobile, and you select a file and you say okay, and this now, like, no drop down makes sense on such a small screen. So I've said like this should probably just be a dialog which takes over the screen, so people on small screens can just be like, oh, I just want to like click this, and you're good to go. And you could like search for things here. And so that I think makes the most sense. Once you select one, I don't think you need to unselect it, right? I guess you could if you, in theory, selected it twice, but it doesn't really make sense. And so if you don't have this selected, then, right, what happens? This format option turns red. If you're just like here on the screen, you're like, okay, files convert, you just slam the convert button. Then we need to guide the user to be like, this row, this thing is not correct. And if that is the case, then we can pass down an error into this, and then the format option, right, can be like highlighted red or something. Maybe that's the best thing to do. And then convert can also be client. We don't need anything else. All right, so let's give that a shot here. All right. I don't need you. Okay, so let's go play with Zod, because we want this to do our validation. Dev. Basic usage. So in this, basically, well, there's only going to be a couple errors, but we will have an error, and when the user goes ahead and does convert here, we can run the conversion. So this is convert. Probably going to end up changing this concept. Let's just do for now validate, right? And so for each conversion, right, we can probably just actually add here what the conversion is. And so then here we can just validate it and add it to the conversion. So let's see, create a schema for strings. Yeah, we're gonna need a little more. So let's do was on the other side of the room, came back when I saw what's up. Like, what are you doing over there? So now, okay. Look, I think, actually haven't used Zod that much, so it's a learning experience here. But I think we're going to do the client parsing instead of the form parsing because I don't want the input to be an actual input field. I want to keep it like a button, so it makes more sense on mobile. So now we'll go ahead and do some Zod time. And I think safe parse is what we want. So now the result is going to have for each of them whatever our result is. Extract the inferred type. Oh, I don't need that. I already have my type. Well, I guess we can define the schema and then pull it out, right? So we can do that. That's pretty cool. So safe parse. That's fine. So if not result success, handle result.error. Yeah, for sure. Okay, what type are you? You're a Zod error, which is anything that extends error. Do I get one error per thing in my array? Turns an array schema for a given type. Okay, that's fine. Let's just validate this and see what we got. Whoa, console.log, please. Okay, so now we can, I believe, do something like that. Data first. Yeah. I do. Data first is generally a really good way to do this. Certainly, there's been a lot of my mind in the user interface, and my data has slowly shifted over time. So we'll see if at one point we just need to step back. Okay, so, okay, I don't need that field anymore. Where did that input go? Go away. Good. Refresh. Oh, we killed our dev server. Come back. Refreshing. Okay, and convert. So what did we get? Oh, you just did a full page load. Okay, I don't want you to do that. Doesn't even need to be necessarily a server action, does it? So let's just call validate and see what happens. Okay, we don't need to be in responsive land right now. It's taking too much time. Oh my God, no, come back. Our form is submitting. Let's just not make it a form again. We'll come back to that. Enter, convert. Okay, success, false. And then there is a error property. Okay. Convert. All right. So we have a Zod error. Invalid type, expected a string, got undefined for path 2. So if I have multiple of these files, right, I would kind of expect this to be like an array of errors. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So that's just what we want to see. So now it's an array of the errors, and each one saying it's undefined. And this is a Zod error. So if it's not successful here, what we can do is, I guess the path is going to be the index. Is there any other way to do that? Right? Because if we have to use that. If we do png, webp, png, close, convert, we're going to get 2 errors still, but path 3. So we need to do error path. So for const e of result error, we know it's an array, but it's not letting us. Is not an array type. It's a Zod error. It is an array though. Okay. Zod result error array. Right, here are all the errors. I don't need an error map, although it's interesting that you can do that. Just add a guard before, yeah. I guess I was just expecting the type to be an array, Alex. Right? Like, hey Harish, welcome, welcome. Oh, so maybe dot. Is it like, can I do like issues? I was just expecting something to be an array. Okay, there we go. Now it's acting as I would expect, right? 0 and the path. Okay, so we want dot issues. That's the type we're looking for. So for each one, what we can do is we can update the conversion with the issue.path at 0, right? Which will be the index. That's the index. And do we have a message required? That's a pretty ugly message, but this should be okay. Hello, AEW fan, welcome. Welcome to my channel and the live stream if you're watching. And if not, you should watch. All right, so now we can update each conversion. So this is a little helper function from our hook, which will say we're gonna set the error on that particular issue, right? So it's not issue 0, it's not the index, it's the path, in which case it's issue number 0, 1, 2, 3, right? That's missing it. And so now we'll fix the type there in a second, but if we go to our list item, we can do something like the popover button variant secondary. Let's just make this really hacky real quick, where it can be if conversion dot error, then we'll make it danger, otherwise we'll make it secondary. What are my variants? Primary, destructive. That's what it is. So, I mean, don't do this at home, kids. All right, sweet. We're getting there. Is it perfect? No. But are we doing the things we want to be doing? Yes, we do. So now we're kind of like going into like, okay, let's show the user what the next step is, right? Like you didn't highlight this. Now that's a pretty angry red, but that's not the worst thing in the world. Other things we could do. So let's see. Once we set this, right, on convert to, man, I want even more hooks. So we're setting on convert to, which we're just calling update conversion. So now we're doing multiple things. Well, I guess we could actually probably do it here, right? If we update this, we could do error undefined. So maybe that's okay. And then we don't need to muck around with this. We can just leave this the same. So now if you like select this, right, it removes this thing. So you've cleared out the errors. Whenever you set this, now convert to PNG, right? So now we're all set. Okay. We did it, team. Zod. Okay, so now we go to the next step, which is going to be, I've been really playing around with how to do these conversions. So there's two main ways to do this, and I'm not sure which one I want to do. One of them is to do the file conversions right here in place. And so we'll show like an uploading bar, and like for each one will be like converted. You could either do them all in parallel if your backend can handle it, or you could do them one at a time. Probably could even change that out depending on the user account and if they're paying, right? So let's say for right now we'll do it in sequence. So we'll just do one conversion at a time. Then you click convert and we just like start, right? So like you don't leave this page, you don't do anything, nothing changes. But what that means is when a user refreshes, it's all gone, right? We don't keep track of anything, and the conversions that happen server side, we also like we have that data, but you're not getting anything back, right? When you do a full page refresh, you're losing all your state. Yes, we can store something in local storage or as a cookie, But in general, it's like you show up on this page, you click something. I mean, this is getting pretty good. We're getting to a pretty good experience here. You click convert. It's like, oh, convert to. You're like, right, PNG. Sorry, forgot that. And then you click convert, and then it uploads. And then like this turns into a download button, and you click download, and that's it. The transaction is over, right? And you know, if we'll add like a button that says like upload more files, right? And if you click it, it just like deletes the state basically and does a full page refresh, and you're back to where you started. You're like, there's no record of anything. Or that's one way. Or when we go to do this sort of conversion, we kick them out to another page. And I was playing with something like convert. And so now we would basically say like, okay, keep the files, right? Store that in memory, do a soft page transition so we don't lose any state. Now you're on the convert page. And this would like create a conversion group on the server, let's say, as a resource in the database. And we would have all these files associated with that conversion group. And now on this page, you get the whole, we're going to upload them. We're going to let you, download them. But because we've talked to our server and we've gotten some sort of ID, if you refresh the page, we could actually go back to the server and say, hey, show me all the files we converted for this conversion group, and then pull them down to the user. Now they would have to have like uploaded them still, right? If they refresh the page before we finish uploading, there's nothing we can do about that. Like, sorry, files are gone. Try again. So we're not going to really worry about that use case. Hey, Eduardo, no worries on being late. I'm glad that you're here. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Hope you're having a great Thursday. We're figuring out how exactly we want to do the conversion UX, right? So like this happens like if you just go to a billion, like a convert PDF, like this is a very common thing, right? People do this in a bunch of different ways. So like here's one where you're just like, okay, you just like do it and you just like click it and it just does it in place and you're done. Right? So there's nothing in the URL, there's no state, there's no nothing, there's just absolute, it's just like, okay, cool. Like we just did the thing. And there's a certain simplicity about that, which is kind of nice. And then there are other things, places like this one, convert, which like you click this, and then when you click convert, let's just do PNG, right? When you do convert, it's actually going to send you to this UUID. And now if you refresh the page, it can pull that state back down from the server. Right? So this is like a little more in depth, although the user doesn't really see anything. They don't know what's going on. They just like, oh, cool. Like we're done. But like the files are stored for 24 hours. So if you refresh the page, you can get them. And if you just like, in theory, share this link, right? You can just share that link and someone else could download the file. So you can be like, oh yeah, I converted this for you. Here, just like go here, download this file, right? Because it's stored on this thing. So I'm kind of caught in between which approach I want to take. The first one's like simpler, right? If you just like convert any file, click, upload, convert to something, go. And we just do it right here, you're done, right? In, out. But it feels like it's slightly less powerful. Right? And if you have, let's say we add like our user accounts, right? And like we want to be able to share a URL to download it. Is it worth the extra complexity to allow that sort of functionality? This is looking pretty good. I think we got a couple changes. We're getting here. We're getting here. So That's what I am mulling over right now, because it changes a little bit of where I'm going to put a bunch of this logic, right? We need to, I should have like a little to-do list. We should build a to-do list SaaS. Are there still sticky notes? Is that still a thing? What is this? Delete this. Stickies, there are. I can do a new note. Can I like make the text bigger? Can we do font bigger? Oh, that's like, it barely gets bigger. Command plus. Yeah. All right. So in terms of what we're doing, this is actually kind of cool for you on, right? We need to choose how to convert. Okay, that's a little aggressive. And then for the conversion, we need to do Axios progress for upload, right? And then we need to show conversion status download button. Come back, Sticky. Okay, Grammarly, sorry, you gotta die. You're not actually helping here. All right, there we go. That's what we're aiming to do. We want to be able to show the progress to like upload. So if it's uploading like a sizable file, right, then it's like, okay, we can show you that progress. And then once it's been uploaded, we want to show the conversion status. So like waiting and then converting, and then we want to download it. I have some of that logic written, but not all of it. Mainly the whole Axios part of it to get the progress for uploading. So this is where I'm going to give this a little think, and grab something to drink. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in chat to basically be like, should we give them a ID for like the file group that we've uploaded, or do we just do it all on the home page, and if they refresh the page, it's just poof, gone? And maybe we start with one and then move to the other. What do we think? What do we think? I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. All right. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do it all in line to start. Because otherwise, we're going to have to refactor a bunch of code around this manager object, and that's just going to be a massive pain in the butt. because then we basically have two managers or a bunch of code that's like used in one place but not the other, right? So let's just go ahead and do it here. And then when our users demand it, we will go ahead and make it a little more complex. So this way we won't actually need the other page. All right, so let's do feature add Zod for schema validation. That should be good. So what we're going to do when we click convert, assuming it's valid, we're going to actually execute the conversion, which is all going to be client side. So to do that, let's see. We can remove this. We move that into the conversion thing. This is going to fail to build, I guess, because that type is wrong. And then this can be as number, just to cast that, right? So that's good. So fix those type errors. Okay, so we're good here. So everything should build. So if not, result success. So now otherwise, we can just return out of that. And now we're gonna start the conversion, right? And so to start the conversion, I guess we'll call convert, which we're just gonna do this all client side, right? So we need to change this out to be Axios, store the progress so we can store the uploading. Let's go. Close all this and Axios. Where are you, my little friend? Installing. That's the one. You know what's really cool? Oh, yeah. So GitHub has this little copy, right? Oh, no, never mind. It's not that cool. Right there. Their code here includes the little $sign in their code, which like is cute. It's like, oh, it's like the bash prompt, right? But then when you copy it, you're going to copy the $sign, which you don't actually want to do. And so I thought GitHub might, for like, if it knows this is bash, right, source shell, it might have added this as like a before CSS pretext, but it doesn't. So it's actually just not great at all. All right. So now we can use Axios here. So what we want is I think we just use it in the same way, right? So here, right, we can now do oh, they have a post form method. Nice. Form data. So that should be just what we need there. And then what we want is we want to get the progress, right? So on upload progress. So here we have loaded total progress in a range 0 to 1. So we can just do progress. And this is going to go one at a time for right now. And so we can just do update conversion at I with the upload progress. request configuration. Handling errors, so it's just gonna throw an error, right? If something bad happens, and frankly, I guess we want the conversion ID, right? So we can just console, take a look at the data. Perfect. All right, so in our manager now, we can now call convert. Upon the validation being successful. And this will do the conversion. And so what we can now do is take a look at our little list and decide how we want to format this. So I think we want let's see, on medium-sized things, we want like another thing right here. Oh, we need to restart our dev server. Whoop. Refresh. So we have a little, oh, we added it to the wrong side. We want it, we don't need that anymore. So now we have this, perfect. So this can be like a badge of sorts, but we'll just make it. So if, this is where our status comes into play, right? So let's go back to our provider. Here we have conversion status, which has our enums, pending processing, and we just killed our Visual Studio Code. Please come back. Right, we need a couple more, which aren't really captured server side. So let's do probably want to change that name at one point. Right, that's from Prisma, but that captures the server side state. And so here we want something like pending and then uploading and then like that. And so when you add something, we add it as pending. And now we can do uploading, right? And we upload it. And then finally, once we're here, we can do processing. So these are kind of like all the states now that we're capturing. And then if there is any sort of error, we can go ahead and just say error, whatever the error is, and we'll just print that out. And so our list thing, now we can do some fun things. So if the conversion dot status is equal to conversion status, wrong one though, we want this one. So we can export it. Again, having this, let's change this already. I've already added it to UX conversion status. right? So if this is pending, so if we go back to here, we should have pending. And we'll make these like cute little badges, right? And then if the status is uploading, we can do uploading, and this can be the conversion dot upload times 100 or 0 times 100%. And then the conversion status of processing is going to be converting. And then of course capture the error state while we're here, right? Just let them know error. What the error is, yes, we need to show them that. And then lastly, we can just say complete. Done. Okay, so now we should be able to get an actual upload percentage when we go ahead and do this, because we are uploading it when we click convert. So our validate, which I mean it should be validating, but it schema log issue. Why didn't you turn red? Okay, that's good. 0, 2, invalid type or string got undefined. Oh, did I somehow... Okay, there we go. Must have deleted that sometime. Okay, so now we can say this. Great. So JPEG, that's supposed to go away. How do we break that? Uploading. Huh. So we did get our ID back from the data, but the uploading just gave us 1%. Didn't seem correct. I was kind of expecting like 0 to 100. API upload form data file here on upload progress. Let's just console.log what we're getting here. I don't even know if our convert, yeah, our converter's not running, so nothing's going to convert in the back end. That's okay. And of course, once you click convert, when we have any conversions in process, we're going to want to disable that. Okay. Getting closer. Convert to PNG. Look at our console logs, right? What's the upload? Convert. Progress 1. Well, 1 means it fully uploaded, right? So I figured we would multiplying that by 100%, and so why is that not working? Conversion.upload in our provider, upload progress is a number or undefined. That's fine. Setting progress, upload progress, update conversion at I. Interesting. Should all re-render. Upload 111. Why are my numbers not doing what they should be doing? 0, 1. 0. Progress 1. Status upload 1. 0. 0%. I don't need that, right? Yep, we did. Okay. Parentheses are important. Okay, so now that's working as expecting. So now the converting is converting. So you should be disabled because our manager says button convert on press validate is disabled for each conversions. If the conversion status does not equal pending, disable it, right? Oh, this is going to return, yeah, for turns true for any element. So conversion dot status, which we looked here, status equals 2, pending 0. So that is true. So is disabled should be true. Did I change it to be disabled in my code? I guess I should count both of those. All right, so now we can't convert again because we're currently converting. There's definitely going to be a lot of complexity in this little list. So we're probably going to want to refactor it again, right? Because each of these has like the file upload and then what type you want it to be selected. And then once you're converting, you're going to want to like disable them from being able to click PNG again, right? So there's just a lot going on. So like for the popover button, right? This is disabled if right? You can't select it now. And like the X is like you want to remove it, but now the X turns into cancel potentially, right? So just a lot of stuff like that. Let's go ahead and start our converter locally here. And it looks like we're gonna explode all over the place because we're sending the wrong value potentially. So for our uploads, we're sending PNG, which is the 2. This is extension 2. We need the meme type. To do this properly. Oh, what just happened? It just refreshed on me. Why did it do that? Okay, that worked. I don't know why the page refreshed though. That broke everything. Console log, network, preserve log, converting. Okay, so we converted it. Now, of course, the last part of this, there's quite a bit going on. Right, we get the ID from the data. And so now we can set the ID here. And the ID of the conversion is what we're going to use to pull it back. So after all this, we now get to do use SWR. Which Axios might be able to do this too, but we want this as a hook. So let's go ahead and get started. So SWR is going to be the thing that's going to poll to see when the conversion is done. And in the future, we might want to use like webhooks for this sort of thing, but we don't want to introduce that sort of dependency with our system. That's just going to cause way too much chaos and complexity. So instead, we're going to do a polling to see when this is done. And that's how we're going to check to see if the conversion has been handled yet. So there's a couple things we need to do to make this happen. So in our list item, we are going to import SWR. For now, we can just use fetch as our fetcher since we're just getting the conversion status. What is wrong with my fetch? This should be fine. It's anything and fetch. Oh. That was really cool. Did you see that, chat? Parameters type of fetch is what we added there, and then it was able to pass it through. That was awesome. So if we have a conversion ID, then we're going to get the API status, and we want to do API status of the ID, right? So we'll switch this out. So and okay. And what we want to do is we want to poll on a refresh interval. Let's say every second. So this will be undefined for a long time. And then once we have the ID, we should start polling for actual data. So let's refresh. Since we restarted the dev server. Okay, do this one. Convert to PNG, everything's good. So convert, so now data is undefined. Uploading, so now we're in converting, so the data is now status pending, status done. And so now we can use that to really want to update, right, the conversion status, which again we don't actually have right here because we have on convert to. So maybe we just want on update. Right, so then you can do on update. Update. this is actually a partial because we already handled this in the update. And so then so the conversion ID exists and conversion status and UX conversion status does not equal complete, then we can go ahead and start fetching it. And if the status is done, then we'll update it one last time. And then that's going to update this. And so then this is going to say done. And then if this says done, this is not going to look pretty, but again, it's okay. We don't want that. We want this. We want the download button. Woo! I don't need any of this anymore. This can just be the ID, and then we download the button. All right, let's see what we got. Select file. Boom. Explosion. Okay. You should be okay. That's fine. So now you're exploding because you're undefined. Refresh. Okay. So pending PNG. Convert. Converting. Done. Download. 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 Show and Finder. Download. It worked. All right. Woo! Ugh. Crack. Okay. So we're getting there. There's just now a lot of details to get right and to clean up some code, I think. So Radix recently came out with themes. I don't know if anyone's seen this yet. And for their themes, explore their components, they have a bunch of themed stuff now. You can like change all the colors for everything. But I wanted to take a look at their badge specifically. They also have the primitives still, of course, which I don't even know if like, yeah, there's no badge here because it's nothing you need a low level component for, right? You just need so what do we got? Little thing, outline, text. They're using box shadow. For their border. That's interesting. Wonder why they do that instead of having an actual border. And then small font size, it looks like. Look at all the computed stuff here. Yeah, font size 12, it's on the smaller size. Font weight medium, little more than normal. Line height, some padding. Okay. That's what we're gonna shoot for our app. But we can just take some of this logic. I don't know. We're not going to have a variant right now. Forwarded ref can be tossed on to our forwarded ref here. So for our badge, went like PY1, PX2. Probably have different sizes at one point in the future. Border. Rounded, small to start. And then we can pass in colors, right? So badge, display name, equals badge, export badge. Well, I think we export default in all these. Yeah, we'll keep that the same. Okay. This can be what? Text small. Well, different colors for what's going on our. So done is going to be, call it green. badge. Wrong type. Okay, so we have a border. Let's go ahead and do border green 500. Last name. Okay, actually kind of want larger rounded, that's good. And then flex justify center, item center, get that there. I kind of want it even smaller. Extra small. And then this I think comes down to just the fact that this is the same size as the grid, right? Yeah, so 100 being too big. Okay, and where's our little button? We'll do color text green 500 too. Wow, seems a little aggressive, but it is a badge at the end of the day. Hello, and welcome to the channel, Georgie. If you're watching, welcome. If not, well, hope you enjoy the channel and the videos. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so we have a little badge, which is perfect. And now we kind of want to make one of these for each of these states, right? So here we can do text red and border red. And this is converting. See if that text works out. This is error. Converting can be like sky. This can be sky too. It's like the in progress color. And then pending can be, let's call it just gray. So the default border, and then like text neutral 700. Okay. So if we run through this again, it should now look a little better. The last thing we want to do is we're adding in the download button here if it's complete. So we kind of want to also hide this if the conversion status is not complete, right? And so then we're only gonna have one of these at a time. Whew. Oh, then we also want to get rid of that. Okay. This is where we can also change the grid columns, or to save on postage, call span 2 for this, right? We can do class justify center call span 2 and put this here. Yeah. Refresh. What do we got? Select a file. Go. Files to convert. Pending. This is a little small, right? Okay, tweak that. It is what it is. Convert to PNG. Convert. Uploading. Converting. Done. Download. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all. Oh. Let's just do a quick tweak here to this bottom row to give it some padding here. This is in our manager. That gives it a little more breathing room between that and that and that. And okay. Is it perfect? No. Is it pretty good? Yes. Can I show it to my parents? Not quite. But we're getting there. We are getting there. Let's go back to our sticky note, right? Okay, we chose how to convert. We're doing it here on the page. Axios to do, show conversion status, download button. We did everything. We're the best. Let's go ahead and push this and see what we got. Progress, badges, and more. Let's push. Let's check GitHub and see if these are building successfully or not. Okay. Woo. This is good. This is good. Obviously, we need a little bit of tweaking for like uploading a couple things. Oh, let's check what happens when we upload multiple things. Because this should all work, but it should do it in sequence, right? So obviously having a button that's like convert to, right? I don't want to have to do this 3 times if they're all JPEG to PNG. So let's see what happens now when we do this. Okay, first one, and then it crashes. Nice. we did it. What happened? So we uploaded it. The second one was canceled and it reloaded. So did something happen here? I don't think so. Let's try that again. Is that just one of those weird refreshes? Obviously you don't want that sort of thing to happen in production. Okay, close, select 3 files, convert to, convert to, convert to. Okay, it uploaded them each. Yeah, so it did successfully go through and upload each one in sequence, but then it doesn't wait for the actual conversion to happen. It just fires through and uploads all 3. So what we really want it to do, right, is we really want it to wait until it's finished converting, which means we're awaiting the upload, get the data, update the conversion, and then we want to like await the actual conversion, but we don't have currently a way to do that. Okay, our build is failing. On update is missing in type conversion list item. What am I looking at? Oh, app convert. Yeah. This is the page that we don't need anymore. This page. We're just going to delete all this. Okay. All right. So let's think about this for a momento. We go through and we're doing it in 2 different places. That's the problem. That's what's getting us here. So we go ahead and just do the upload here, and we set the status to processing. And then once the status is processing, we go ahead and fetch the information. But we do that elsewhere. And so to really do this in sequence, right, we'd probably want to do something like we already have processing, so data.status is equal to done. Something like this, right? So we're not done. And then we fetch the endpoint. We're going to do this forever. And then done is going to equal if the status is done. When it is, then we're going to update the conversion with status equals done. And And then we're going to, right, otherwise it's complete, otherwise it's processing, and then we're gonna sleep for a second before we do it again. Which means now we have like two competing things, which of course is awful. Let's see if this works. Where it shouldn't go out of the loop, right? Until this is already tiresome. First one, converting, fetching. It's gonna fetch forever because we don't have our conversion module going. So now we're converting in the background. Done. Next one. Next one. Nice. Okay. So that did work out pretty well. And that was all three. And then you can download each one individually, which of course doesn't kick you out of the tab, which is perfect. Okay. So now we have a bunch of duplicated code that I'll go through and have to fix, but that's on me, not you. Okay. Feature process uploads in sequence. Let's see how our build is doing. The build is still building, but it looks like it's going successfully. Okay. Cool. So I think more or less, you know, hand wavy here, that we're in a good place. We're in a good place for our file conversion end-to-end picture, right? And we need some help mobile, I guess. Why do you go down to the next row? Oh, because we didn't update this. So we added a new column in our conversion list item to our grid right after it for 80. And so here on the small one, we need 100 as well. Okay, so okay, now that's a little bit nicer. So you click this and it's a full screen, so you do PNG and now it's PNG and you click convert and it should just do its thing. Perfect, download. Okay, so when we get this running in a couple of seconds, we should be able to do this on production. Okay. How's our, okay, yes, looks like our deployments are now working. I'm pretty happy with how it generally looks. Definitely, right, we have like a nice little bar that fades in here at the top. We are leading into the glass effects. I think it looks sweet on like a mobile device. We have this here, easy to do in the middle. So now we have kind of like a bit of the rest of the page that we need to hack on. And I honestly haven't given any thought at all to what that looks like. So that'll be interesting. So let's go ahead. Hello. I have to refresh my stream elements. Captain Awesome. I love that name. If you're watching the stream, welcome, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. And Kid Current as well. Thank you for subbing to the channel. If you're watching, hello. If not, hope you're enjoying the videos. Awesome that you are here. Means a lot. Thank you. Okay, this is like really pretty good. So let's see. There's obviously a ton of work to do in terms of conversions and getting the back-end conversions and the front end talking to each other a little nicer. And adding more converters and probably cleaning up some of that code. We have to update our AWS SDK. Drag and drop should work fine. Yep, that works. Cleaning up that sort of interaction will need to happen at 2 at one point, but these are all kind of like just minor bugs, right? That we will fix. All right, let's take another little break here and see if we should be finished building. Yep. So if you go to, if you're watching, recast file, you should be able to, on any device, convert something to like a PNG, which is basically all you can do. But JPEG, convert to PNG. Ah, yeah, that button's broken. So mind the gap. But it works. It works in production. So we can officially convert JPEGs to PNGs, which is fantastic. So now we just get to kind of expand on everything in the world. You know what I want to do? I think, let's see, it's like 2-ish. I think we're going to go ahead and do the blog. So some of the stuff that we need to do perfunctory outside of this is going to be like the content marketing side of it, which is going to be our blog, and it's going to be and then we're also going to just have like documentation. We'll have to document and build out the API so people can use it programmatically, which will be good. I wonder if I can buy name cheap. Is recast.sh available? Oh, it is. Nobody buy it. It would be very, very fun to use this as the either maybe not the API server. That would probably just be api.recast file. But this could be like the command line tool, right? So something that I want to do at one point would be to allow people, right, to basically like cat, let's see, go to downloads, testing, make that a little bigger. Right, and so like take your file, cat it into curl, so you're piping into curl, right, and then do like a recast.sh, something maybe like, you could probably just like maybe 2 PNG, or make a post request to it, or and do like 2 PNG, right? This sort of idea. And so you could take any file that you had locally, pipe it right through, and then just be able to download the file by doing like output converted.png or something, right? Which of course won't work because that's not a URL. But that would be the idea. behind like part of the API, right? So why is that useful is always a great question that you should probably be asking. It would be most useful for anybody who was on a computer that they didn't have the permissions to be able to install something, or they didn't want to figure out how to install something and make it happen, right? So if you're like, oh, well, I can use like image magic, right, to convert what to test.png, right? And you can just open test.png. You're like, cool, like that works. Like, not hard to convert a JPEG, right, to a PNG. But if you're on your friend's computer and you do magic and they don't have it installed, you're like, oh my god, okay, so I need to like install it with like Homebrew. So you're like, okay, so like brew install image magic, I think, and then you do that and it's like, oh, they don't have Homebrew installed, and you're like, oh my god, like, okay. So now I have to install Homebrew and I need to like set up Homebrew on your computer and I need to do all this, and you're like, or hear me out, like curl just comes installed, so I can just like run this one line command and do the file conversion without needing to install anything. So those are the sorts of things that our API will be useful for. Very helpful if you're on a server somewhere and you want to like convert something. You're on a friend's computer, you're someplace you don't have permission, any place where you have a command line and you want to like do a file conversion real quick, but you don't have access to the tools. Being able to fire off a request like that to do it, elsewhere is very, very handy. So, all right, I am going to think about our blog and be right back. And everyone is welcome to play around on prod and break it to the best of your abilities. We'll see what happens. I'm eating food. A quick snack. All right. So at the top of our page, we don't really have any links, right? What we're going to eventually have is an account that you could log into, but that's not going to be for a while. I think we'll just be anonymous for a while. So API documentation for the API, information on like our limits, which we'll probably put in place at one point. You know, how big a file you can upload. And then our blog for content marketing. The other thing is going to be building pages for all of the converters. And you'll land on one of those, and instead of being like convert any file to anything, it'll say like convert, you know, JPEGs to PNG. So all things to kind of tackle and build out the business side of this. And then of course more converters. Here's sort of an example. I've only had so much luck with blogs built entirely in next.js. I feel like the SEO never quite went that well. It's kind of cute. Yeah. Okay. just wondering how much it's worthwhile to like build out the blog in next.js entirely versus something like Ghost, which would then be a whole different shebang to like get that working, right? Yeah. There's a lot of different directions to kind of go in. I don't really have too many strong opinions on which one to go. Let's see here. Let's go ahead. We don't want to go too far ahead, honestly, of where we are, because then we have more work to do before we kind of like quasi-launch. So, need to be a little bit careful here. All right, let's take a look. What do we got? Honestly, I don't know. Let's wait on the blog situation because I want to do a little bit of work there, and instead let's fix up our ability to actually do all the conversions that we support. That's probably the most important thing to get this close to launching. So in our converters, right, we build this whole graph of converters, and we have sort of all the converters defined here. So these are things that can convert. And I think there's quite a bit we want to change here. How we build all these and how we export them and everything. So this is our image converter, for example, and it supports these formats. But of course, these formats aren't the same ones we're displaying on the website, right? We just have like these. So we really want to take like this concept and move it here. And we also have this whole back and forth between like file extension and format, which are different things. Most of the time, they're all mapped one-to-one, right? You have one file extension, and that maps to like a single meme type. But that's not always the case. And so any application could just create a new file extension and create a meme type for it. And so how our graph really wants to work and how it does work, right, is it functions in meme types. Mime types? Meme types? Who knows? And so like you say, you know, it's a PNG file, and we go, great, that's like image/PNG. But then you have things like ICO files, right, which really have several meme types, right? And so Favicon has like this one, which is a thing, but then like it's image X icon, which could be another one, right? And so like depending on what our system is doing, we need to account for that. And And mostly by account for it, it's going to be like, what does this file extension look like in our, on the front end and also in the actual conversion part of it, right? And so we're using the same library in both places, which is good. And so we can kind of flip back and forth. So just for, and so I kind of want to change our whole converter thing here. Let's see. Right now we're exporting these with a name, but that doesn't need to exist at all. So, and then the formats we're defining them from file extensions, but that also, is that exactly how we want to do it? Is the question. The converter itself has this here. So I think the ICO is the best example of this. Where like if we do convert what.jpg to example ICO, and of course it breaks because our width or height actually ran into this when I was making our ICO. We want, hey Zoki, what's up? How are you? We're doing more conversions. There was maybe it was resize and background transparent. I think 256 is as big as it can go. Nope. I don't want crop. University course about SQL. Hey, we have SQL experts in the chat. Careful what you wish for here. It's very useful to know. Very, very useful. What's the magic command here? You know what? ChatGPT probably knows. Oh my god. I already have it installed. Oh my god. I don't need an article. I need the command. Yeah. That's what I thought. Right? But that's what we did. What? Oh, sure, that works. What were we doing before? Oh, we just did x256. It didn't like that. It wanted 256 by 256. Okay. Yes, I think ChatGPT has gotten worse. I mean, it's still good, but it's gotten worse. I think as much as OpenAI denies it, I think behind the scenes they have been adding in additional safeguards to their model and how the model will like respond to answers. And because they've been doing that, they've made it safer, but it's gotten worse. So much so that like Llama 2 came out and there's an uncensored version of it. And if you use that version, it's kind of like as good as GPT 3.5, which is pretty sweet. I think it's very, very cool. I just haven't played around with it enough to like really get it working. Abu, welcome. Welcome to the channel. Hope you are enjoying the content. Okay, so back to our testing. So now we have an example little ICO, and we can kill Spotify. Don't need that right now. If we go ahead and upload it, this is broken. This one. Oh, and convert it to a PNG, sure. Yeah, current node undefined path downloading file. So it just like totally failed to do that conversion. Status error. And it failed because it's like, I don't know how to convert you. Although I would love to have a better error. Let's go fix that. Could not find converters. We got downloading file. Then we got current. Because that was the path. Q, shift, Q, nodes, start. Right. So this is like the classic, I have a little ICO and I want to convert to something. Wrong one, right? Converting. And so this says, right, image X icon is what we're converting, going to a PNG. And if you look at our graph, we don't have an image X icon. We have an image vnd.microsoft.icon, right? Which is the other meme type. Which, honestly, how the heck did we do that, considering to and from should be doing the same thing? Right? So the from is determined in our app API upload route, right? Here we get to, and here, okay, well the from comes from the file type, and the file type comes from the, oh God, this is a mess. Yeah. Okay. Oh, fun. So different APIs are returning different meme types, which I suppose is fine, right? We should probably just have both of these nodes in the graph. And then we can select one of the nodes to be like the canonical one. Right, but it'd be like JPEG meme types potentially. Although I don't know if that's right. JPEG is kind of the opposite. It has two file extensions, but they each have the same image meme type. And so here, there are, I mean, potentially several. Is that really the case? There are several possibilities. Now they're all ICO files. So the question is, are the nodes in the graph better defined as a file extension? But you still have the same thing, right? You'd still need to have like two nodes, one for JPEG, one for JPEG. Or do you just have aliases, right? Or do you just say like, well, this could be multiple. I guess that probably isn't necessary, right? If you think about our nodes in the graph, go back to Excalidraw, right? So here, if we add in, right, if we have these all as right? So here we have image X icon. It's a little hard to see, but image X icon. This is like the node in the graph, right? And then you also have this little chunker. Right, so now you also have this one. And so if we want to convert to, someone's like, I want to convert to an ICO file, then our converter should probably canonically pick this, right? .ico. But if someone uploads this, this could just have all the same connections to everything else? Or does it make sense for this just to be like an alias of this? And so like this one actually just has multiple meme types, right? Like it's this meme type and it's this meme type. And so we have like multiple meme types it could be. And if you ever want to look it up in the graph, you're just like, oh yeah, just like any of these meme types will point to this node, right? Does each node have one or multiple? How many times is this a problem? Like, right? It's a problem for ICO, certainly. How many times are there multiple right? Microsoft Word, it's like there's just one. Text, JavaScript. Right here are two file extensions, same different potentials, like barely the same thing. And how do we want to handle that? Video, audio, 7-zip archive, XML, rar. Right, here we have two file extensions that point to the same meme type. Here, it doesn't even have it, but we have two meme types that point to the same file extension. And so the goal was always kind of like get the meme type from the file extension, and that will be the canonical thing. And each node in the graph will simply be a meme type. But if there are two meme types that could potentially get uploaded, do we handle that before the graph, or do we just handle it in the graph, right? We can just translate anything like this into image/x icon with like a translation layer to be like any weird meme types that like don't quite make sense, but we know what they should be. Maybe that's the way to do it. Instead of having just like the graph be complicated, let the graph be simple, and we go from there. Okay, maybe we try that. So first, I think we want to fix let's fix all this. So the formats are going to be okay, so now we have the formats that we're kind of all expecting. Now the question is, how much do we need to set in stone the exact like file format that they use? And we're going to try and use our library to do that. Second of all, instead of exporting, I think we're just going to delete this entirely. And then we're going to build our converters. And so export const converters, this is going to be an array of converters. And so now for each format, right, we no longer need to do that. We don't need to do that. If it's the same one, we're not going to let you convert to yourself, which seems fair. And now we don't need to do this, right? We can just do converters.push and pass in from and to. Let's do it this way. Okay, so now we have this. Now, this kind of works, except we want some custom logic here, right? Because we have things, go back to my ChatGPT conversation. Write the bash command for a PNG to ICO and keep transparency. Oh, it says it does it by default. Okay, cool. So what we have, right, so this is our building converter from and to. Jeez, ChatGPT just doesn't shut up. This command is going to change when we're doing it, right? If the output is ICO. And so I think what we want to do is we kind of want to just pass in the params. And so now we can do any extra params in here. And so what we can do here, we're going to make this a little more complicated now, is we're going to do format and then params, right? But this is actually going to have a parameter with it. So now right, if the formats are the same, continue. Otherwise, to format and then to params. So if you're ever going to image X icon, then we're going to add in the parameters. Now, there is a question to be like, what happens if you have like from parameters? But I don't think that's ever the case. Okay, so now in our graph, when we're building this, we can do import image converters from converters.image. They have, but I don't think we want that, right? This is like we just want a list of all the converters. And now we can just do converters for each. We can just get the converter. So that simplifies all that. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay, looks like it did. These are all the image formats we defined. These are now in our graph, which is good. And so when we want to do a conversion here, and upload, right? Here we have the 2, and here we have from type. New question, do you use blob to store data before processing and converting it further? What exactly do you mean, Zoki? Like, do I save the information in a database as a blob, or do I use just like the blob type anywhere in my code if I'm working with the data? So we want to change, I think, lib file. Here we have file extension to Mime. No. From the file extension, Mime to file extension. No, file extension to Mime. Yes, this is the one we want. Jeez. And here we're going to have a lookup table. And this is going to be the image this thing, where if it's this, instead, we're going to change it to that. So now we're going to return okay, how do we handle the false case here? This is super annoying. The MDM blob. So I only use blob generally if I specifically need to because of some APIs. When you convert any sort of data into something you want to use in Node.js, you tend to want to use buffers instead of blobs. A common time I would use blob is when you're like downloading bytes and you want to dynamically generate a anchor tag and like let the user download the file from clicking on the link, and there you would use blob. But for the most part, if I'm dealing with anything client side, I don't want to be working specifically with like the blob bytes. I kind of want to send it to the server, and then once it's on the server, I want it to be in a buffer. So Rob, hey Ethan, I am building my own SaaS in the recruiting space. How should I go about letting recruiters know about the platform? That's very exciting. I love it. So if you're building something for these recruiters to use, then I would say just start chatting with as many recruiters as you can, right? And ideally, right, you have some sort of like, okay, recruiters have like these problems, and so my SaaS can help solve these problems. And so reach out to recruiters and start by asking a lot of questions and understand like how they solve current things, if that's a pain point for them. What do they wish they had? Why aren't they using a tool that might already exist that you're like, oh, you know, I'm building the SaaS and I have some competitors. Why aren't people using the competitors, right? And just ask a lot of questions and ask the hard questions and see, you know, how how once you're having these conversations, you can start shaping the conversation to be like, well, it sounds like that's a problem for you. My SaaS can help solve that problem. Do you want to give it a try? So, file extension to Mime. This is one of those things, right, where I think we're just going to throw the exception as quickly as we can, because if we don't know what you're trying to convert, we can't convert it. So we might as well just throw the error and then figure it out. Yeah, no problem. Good luck. Feel free. One of the things I love doing, feel free to like send me a link or something when you're ready for someone to take a look at it. And I will be happy to either give you feedback or just take a look. I also have a weekly newsletter, and one of the things I'd love to start doing is showcasing people like you and like the SaaSes you're building. So if you're interested in a little publicity like that, anyone listening, you can feel free to send me an email or tweet or something, and we can talk and work it out. And it's free, obviously, because I don't make any money. But I think it'd be really cool. I love seeing what other people are building. Same thing for this one. This we don't need this complexity, but we can basically say const extension equals this, right? And if we don't have it, then we can just throw. So now these things are always going to return strings, which makes our life a little easier. And we also have this whole mapping file extension to Mime. So now what we should be able to do is just totally ignore everything the browser gives us, I think. So in our upload, we're getting 2 as a string. This should already be converted. Let's go ahead and check out our conversion logic in files, in the provider. Right, so here we are. Here we're uploading this, and we can actually just change it right here, right? So if we don't know what you're trying to convert it to, we're going to throw an exception, which of course we should always know what you're trying to convert it to, because we're telling you what we can convert from and to. So it really shouldn't be a problem. But that's using the thing we wanted to do. And then this one, instead of just trusting the file type, we're going to instead get meme type we're going to get it from the file name, and the lookup here in this library, meme types, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it lets you look up like anything with a period in it, so we should be fine with that sort of logic. So now we should be good. So let's go ahead, restart our converter, see if that explodes. Okay, good, that's working. Restart the dev server. And now we can again try to do this, except, no, wait, we're not done yet. I forgot. Okay, so the last thing we want to do, right, is we want to be able to actually get these formats. And so you know what we're going to do? Is we're going to, so close. we're gonna do this. Cheat a little bit. Okay, so now we're gonna have a file extension with all the formats. Should they be capitalized? What do you think? Capitalized file formats? Maybe, maybe not. With period? Maybe not. So now I should be able to pull in formats from the converters. Nah. All right, I'm there. Export const formats, and we can now import formats as image formats from image, right? And so now we can just do image formats. So now formats is exported here in converters index. Now we'll see how this explodes in a second, because there's a good chance it does, because we so now we can just do, right, import formats from the converters, and this is going to have all the image formats. So that's a format and an extension. Const well, I guess that's all the same, right? So now we have formats. So now we can just do format dot extension, but then the value here, honestly, this can be format dot format, and the value can still be the value, and this can be the extension, and it'll be green if the value equals the format. All right. This is the problem that I suspected, is we're now trying to import the node modules into our browser, which of course will not work. It's not tree shaking effectively here. So the formats that we've defined are not shaked appropriately. So there's a couple ways we can fix this, but I think we might just do we can just export image formats. And then just have a converters here. And so now we can just import formats. Right, we'll just import formats from right here. So now image is its own thing. And now converters, we still probably want this to be right. Now we can just do image formats, and so now this is all separate from everything, and so you also want converters image converters. So now you're okay, now you're okay, now you should all be okay. And so if we look at our selector, refresh. Okay, how are we doing? So now, let's see, select the file, what.jpg, And we convert to, look at all of these little chunkers. They're adorable. We have so many of them. Okay. Here's our grid. Let's make them less aggressive. Size small. Cute. Okay, great. Const search set search. I could have sworn that this was a string. Value T, default handler, values. Hello? Oh. My types might not line up as I expect. Okay. Yes, that's a string. So we should just be able to do set search. It's whatever you think this is. Oh, you think it's a string or a form event? Well, you're a string. Right, so now you should work fine. Yes, okay. So interesting. A form event, but why do you think you're a form event? That's my question. You're clearly not a form event. Stop doing that. Text field props. Text field props. Text field props. Input base. No, value base though, yes. Value base of T with C equals T. HTML input element. It says value base right here as string for text field props. So I would think, oh, maybe the text area input element type. The default is T. Aria text field options with type input. You had text field and HTML input elements after that thingy. Like this thingy? We're forwarding the reference, if there is one, onto, well, I guess honestly onto the forwarded one is being put onto the group. So maybe the forwarded ref shouldn't even be that, but I don't think this shouldn't do anything. If I change this like HTML div element, I don't think that changes this at all. This for some reason is somehow getting confused in that like the text field properties that we have, it thinks it's getting a form, which of course it's not. So then this entire thing like explodes, which is annoying. But we can just do that for right now and make it work. And so then here, right, we can filter before we map. So now I can do like PNG and get a PNG TIFF, or I can do like X icon and get like the icon. Okay, cool. Cool. So we outputted an ICO, but if I do a test, right, can I do a test PNG and convert this to an ICO file now? And so you are now format. It's like, oh my god. We probably just need a new type for this. Okay, because we don't want it to be like image X icon. That's ugly. But does it work? No. Why does it not work? If there's an error in our validate, probably just want to, yeah. Test, convert to, okay, so we're not making a network request at all. Okay. What happened? Okay. Oh, it must be throwing. Let's see if we get to the here. So we are getting to convert. So we're converting, which means we're converting, which means we're going. I better know what's happening. Here we're calling convert for each one. We are updating it. We're doing this, and this probably throws, right? Because the 2 is now image X icon. So let's do in lib export type format. And this is going to have an extension, and this is going to have the meme type. So this is just a global format now. So here, this is going to be an array of formats. Combined with params, which is an optional string. Is the code available on GitHub? The code for this project is not currently on GitHub, Abdul. The goal eventually is going to be to sell the SaaS, and so I am keeping the source on the closed side. If we don't sell it and I give up, then instead I'll just open source the entire thing. But if you want me to go through and like explain or show tutorials on certain things, then I will be happy to do so. So this is now meme, and now we have meme extensions. Okay, so now we better start screen record. Yeah, seriously. I mean, the videos are all on YouTube. You could probably piece together this entire thing if you wanted to. But like, whatever. Whatever. Mostly we're here to learn and build as we go. And so if there's things you want me to cover, it's also probably better for me just to make videos of it than it is for me to like try and explain everything in depth on stream, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. Okay. So now we have all of our converters, which are, so now here, instead of just doing a 2, what we're going to do is we're going to call this a format. Oh, okay, don't go down. So now it's the 2 format. So that's going to break a whole bunch of stuff. But what it means is here, we can just do c.format dot meme type. And so that should now work. The selector, of course, these are no longer, right? This is now meme. I did take a look at that coding challenge. So I wanted to ask are you doing this challenge? It looked like it was a challenge set up by a design agency to kind of give to potential candidates or to candidates. So I was curious if you were just doing the challenge for, fun and learning, or if you were doing it because you were applying to this place. The value is going to be a meme type. So we set the value to the format and all this. And now we can just filter based on the value equals the meme type. And so the manager, you on convert to, this is now a format. Which is fine because this is now the extension, and the selector gets the meme. And let's see, we should use the same phrasing in each place. And this is now the extension, and this is now the meme type. Okay. Okay. Refresh. Whew. Changing data out from underneath me. Select a file. Test.png. Open. Convert to ICO. Click. Done. Yes, people who want to switch to IT, I'm planning to apply for their program. I have managed to parse SQL files with Prisma and save around 3 million records. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it looked like they wanted you to build basically a full functioning like mini SaaS app, right? Like you would have like the APIs and the server, and they recommended doing a database to like get the information. So it really has like the full thing end to end. Which, I mean, it's a lot. I was looking at it, so I was a hiring manager for a while, and so I was looking at it from the eyes of like, okay, like what would I have people do if I was looking to hire somebody? And I was like, that's quite a large project. It had a lot of breadth to the scope, you know, tests and API routes and everything. So, I mean, you got to start somewhere. So it sounds like you started with the data and got it parsed and put it into your database, which is great. Then you can start building on top of that. That's awesome. We're going to click convert and see what happens. Oh, expected string received object. That's okay. That's okay. That is our Zod validation. Right? And where's our manager? So now the Zod is no longer this, right? Now it is a z.object. And this is going to have a format, and it's also going to have a extension, which doesn't really matter, but we might as well just validate it. Okay, try this again. Refresh. Select. Test. Open, clear, convert, ICO, go. Damn it. Expected string. Invalid type. Expected string required. To the format. Into format? Oh, this is meme, right? Test. Open. Convert to. ICO. Clear. Convert. Is it working? Converting. It said it finished converting. Let's download our ICO file. Let's check it out. Ba, 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 ba. We have successfully created our first ICO file. So I actually was trying to do this earlier when I was playing with the favicon. And then just gave up because it was horribly broken. Not that. Help me, I'm poor. That was in my newsletter. But I created reveal and finder. Right, here's our little just like example temporary icon. And I wanted to make an ICO out of it, and I literally was just like, oh my god, I can't. So now, after all this. Let's go. After all this, whoop, 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 boop, boop. We have successfully used our own product to create our own favicon. Oh yeah, feels good. Oh, it feels so good. Let's push this bad boy to prod so everyone can do it. Refactored formats to be sane. That seems like a fair commit. Okay, so I think I can just do so here's DigitalOcean, and here is our IP address, and here is Namecheap account, sign in, manage, advanced, right? We want, let's call it like converter dot recast, but that's a lot to type, but con doesn't sound good. What about just convert? So we do convert. So now we can do convert dot recast file.com, and that's going to take like a second to propagate. So in the meantime, we'll just SSH the slow way. Okay, so now where'd GitHub go? We need to build the Docker image. So one of the things that I did is I Dockerized our converter. So this is like the index file of the converter that just executes forever. While true, go ahead and set a timeout. This just does conversions forever. And so we created a Docker file for this, and it installs things like ImageMagick. And then this gets built on GitHub. No. And so it'll check it out, and then it will build the Docker image and then push it to GitHub. And so that's what's happening over here as we wait for it. It's like Vercel does the deploy, and the converter already happened actually. So here it builds and pushes, succeeded in 2 minutes. You can see the output and everything, which means here on our server converter, I have a deploy script that basically pulls down that latest Docker image from GitHub and redeploys it using Docker. And so here, the website itself is hosted on Vercel, and that's like our API server and everything. But the actual conversions happen on our own little server, separate, and it will just churn and do the conversions every second. And so this is kind of like a really poor man's queue, right? Like a more robust solution here is using a queuing system and have workers pull off the queue. But I didn't want to go that far to start. This is just like a very simple way to do that. I hope to get your feedback once I finish it. It'd be great if you could make a video about Docker deployment. Yeah, I use Docker deployments for 2 ways. Either A, just like deploying my next.js stuff with Docker, if I'm like, I don't want to use Vercel, or I have like a custom server or something that makes it complicated. Or things like this, right? Where like you can't have this be a cron job. You can't have this be like a little asynchronous thing that happens quickly. It's a process that runs and just does conversions forever. And so now you can do like the logs. And so here you can just like see, like this is it starting up, building its graph of converters, and then it just goes through and checks for conversions. And so it'll do that forever, which is fantastic because now we can convert things in production. And the great thing about doing this in Docker is our Docker file that I was showing earlier, right? It's basically just a Debian Linux box, and so we can install things like ImageMagick or FFmpeg or anything else that we're going to need in order to do the conversions. And so by controlling all this in Docker, we can test it locally, nice and easy, or we can also add things very easily without having to muck with servers. And so if we tear down a server and create a new server, we can use the same Docker images. For Shid, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the channel. So that's what we have going on here. We're going to close everything. So now, if we go to recast file, we should be able to do the same conversion, and we'll just do it. We'll do the what.jpg. So here we can just boop, and now we can convert to everything that we have converted to. So this is like awesome. So again, what's going to happen is on a page that's like pre-built, we can just do, this will already be filled out, right? And so now we want like what.jpg to be a, like, can we convert to a high efficiency image format? That's crazy. Let's do ICO again to test. And I'm not going to look at the network log. I'm just going to see if it works. Very brave of me. So besides that button not working, it worked perfectly. So that is sweet. Okay, so we're good. We're live. So the next big thing I think is going to be filling out the rest of this homepage. Which is not super exciting, and I really just need to be like, what am I going to put there? You know, this is obviously some lorem ipsum that we just generated. So it's going to have to explain a little bit like what this is and anything else that users might be like, oh, I don't know if this is going to do what I need it to do. So we'll have a couple, it'll be pretty brief, like a couple of sections, you know, down here of content, and then a footer probably. And then we can start, I think after that, working on like, well, there's two things. One is working on the marketing, which is like, this is an MVP, right? Although we are saying convert any file to anything, and currently we only support images. So it's probably wise to either change our tagline for the time being, or to just support like a couple more things, so we can kind of say like, yeah, anything, and then like we turn anything into actually anything over time. So like convert IO in terms of just like they have 300 file formats, right? Which is like a ton. Some of them they only read from, which is a little interesting. I hadn't, right? There's a lot we can do here. I'm actually kind of excited about like the possibilities behind the scenes. Basically, I think in order to like say we support everything, we should add in audio files most likely. So that's basically just FFmpeg. We're not going to do CAD to start. Add in some amount of documents, so Word documents, PDFs especially, right? Just like a couple things there, which I think is going to be mostly covered by Pandoc. So we're going to look at Pandoc, which is a fantastic universal document converter. Like, it's freaking amazing. FFmpeg, which is a fantastic open source tool for converting, streaming, everything audio and video, insanely powerful, right? Here you go. Like, this is just so awesome. So that's documents. Pandoc might do ebooks. I'm not going to worry about fonts for the time being. Images, we are using ImageMagick, and we can just add a few more over time. We don't need to go crazy to start. No idea what I'm doing with PowerPoint presentations. I only know of a couple of these, like Adobe's Illustrator vector format. And then videos will be covered by FFmpeg as well. So we'll probably do like images, documents, and like videos, and call that good. Which means, let's see, we basically just need to add in pandoc and FFmpeg, and then add a bunch of logic for the conversions, which, I mean, you saw it's not super hard. Right, so if we go to our converters, image, basically do video, although there is something we'll have to do soon. Converters.ts, and then docs converters.ts, right? So that's kind of going to be like, oh, and then I guess I said audio, right? Audio converters.ts. So fill in those blanks, and then we'll be able to convert a lot of things to a lot of things. And then the fun begins. So we're getting close, but like if I do, right, we'll basically have to have a bunch of crazy logic to jump between the formats, which is what we're gonna do, and it's gonna be fun. But to start, right, MVP. What is the MVP? We need to finish this page. We need to add in those extra converters, and then probably just allow them to convert like the easy stuff to the easy stuff. So like images to images, images to PDF, right? But then I guess once you have a PDF, you can convert a PDF into like anything. So TikTok videos to MP3. Yeah, exactly. I do think it's going to be good to, we can use YouTube DL, right, to like pull things down and to convert stuff that way. So I don't know if it's going to be like wise. I don't even know how to like find TikTok videos, right? But like, here's TikTok. It's like the third time I've ever been to this website. Oh my God, these are all terrifying. What is this? This looks tame. So if I take that URL, right, and do YouTube DL, the URL, well, let's get out of this directory. CD downloads, maker, TikTok, CD, TikTok, right? Anything you can do locally on your computer, you can turn it into a web service. So here's our TikTok session. Okay, unable to extract the data. Okay, so we're not able to like pull this TikTok video. Which I guess I'm not super surprised. YouTube DL TikTok. Straight. I would expect it to work, I guess. Like there's a TikTok extractor, right? There's a lot of issues though. Oh my God. Yeah, okay. The answer is no. Isn't that like a gray zone? I mean, probably. I mean, really the question's like, right, like YouTube DL itself is a gray zone, right? Like, can you use YouTube DL to like download a YouTube video? Right? And YouTube would tell you no. And like the courts in the United States so far have been like mostly yes. And so I think it's one of those areas where the tool itself is fine. It's how people use it, which then of course gets into iffy gray zone areas depending on how people are using the tool. So if Recast ends up like facilitating that sort of problem, to like pull, let's say like turn a TikTok video into an MP4, right? To like pull out in the video, then you're like, okay, like, are you stealing from TikTok and are we letting that happen? And it's like, well, we probably don't want to be in that business, right? Is that too hard to read when the blob is behind it? But on the flip side, being able to convert videos and text and other things like into any other format is good. We want to be able to do that. So like if you downloaded a video and then uploaded it to our service to do a conversion, is that the same thing? Are we just making that easier? I don't know how many people will actually ever want to do something on TikTok, so we probably won't do it to start. But the thought has crossed my mind to be like, could you paste in a URL to like an image, right? So let's say you're on my blog, and you're like, oh, here's my newsletter, right? And so like, I want to convert something. And so you're like, I want to convert this, right? So you could just take this URL and like copy it, go to Recast, and like have some place where you can enter a URL and paste the URL into it. And then we would just go and fetch the image and then do the conversion, right? That's a useful thing. So, you know, people will probably abuse that, but as long as it's not awful, we probably just won't get into any trouble with it. For example, I don't know how TikTok does this, right? But I can just download the video. Guys, you see that? I just right-clicked and hit download. Look, I've created a converter. That's interesting. They really make that super easy to download it. Okay, well, I was gonna like look at the source code and like figure out how to like download and look at the source, but I guess I just don't need to. You can just right click and click download. So yeah, there you go. I guess it's actually easy to do conversions of TikTok videos. So you'll be able to do that and like convert it to an MP3. Like that would be totally simple. You can just download it and then drag it into our service and do it. What's gonna be really funny is, of course, once we're converting things like videos, then all of a sudden we're going to see how quickly that's abused by people to be like, oh, can you convert like my 3-hour video into like this other thing? It's going to like be 1.4 gigabytes that we have to upload and convert, which will probably run into problems on the server side pretty quickly for that, but we'll deal with those problems later. We'll run into timeouts, right? Because our API is hosted on Vercel. And so that's going to have timeouts that we can pay more money to get rid of, but we're not making any money yet. So there's that. All right, friends. I think this is where we are going to stop it today. We have deployed to production. We've updated our converter backend. We have the file conversion working really, really well between a bunch of outputs, so we can convert basically all the images. We'll add a couple more image types over the next few days, and then we'll also add in the audio and video and everything. I'll probably do that this weekend. So hopefully by next week, we'll have a really useful converter that can more or less convert anything to anything within boundaries. And so then we'll start looking at like, if I haven't already, finishing up the rest of the site, the rest of the homepage, because we want that to look good and be professional. So if people are like browsing through, they're like, this looks legit, let's go. And then we'll start on the whole like marketing side. I need to give that a little thought, which is why we didn't do it today. But building out like a blog that works really well with SEO and like handles all that SEO stuff really well. And then we can start making content, and then we can do some documentation as well, which kind of functions as, content. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and thank you for stopping by, Zoki, Abdul, Dadbod, Harish, Alex, everybody. It was excellent. Made a lot of great progress today. Really kind of built out, again, really hammering on the UX for the files to convert. And yeah, we'll see how far we get before we can get some traffic to it. I did set up analytics on this, so I can start watching how many people are on the site, and we're gonna just drive that number up and see if we can get a bunch of conversions. And then once we have people actually using it, then hopefully we either start making some money or we go and look to sell it. So enjoy the rest of your night, evening, day, wherever you are, and I will see you next week. See ya.